Hey, how's it going, my fellow survivors? In this video, I'm going to be doing a spoiler review of episode 3 of The Last of Us on HBO. Now, before I get started, I want to pay my respects and say rest in paradise to Anna Wershing, who is the original Tess from The Last of Us video game. And it's just sad how about a week ago, Tess in the show died, and then a week later, the OG Tess actress passes away. It's just heartbreaking. I mean, cancer sucks. It has taken 5 family members from me over the past decade, and I'm sure cancer has taken loved ones from many of you also. And it's just sad after so many years of research and testing, a definitive cure still does not exist. And I'm just hoping that an actual cure comes along in our lifetime so we don't have to see any more of our loved ones pass away from it. But yeah, let's get back to the episode 3 review. Now, this episode was getting all sorts of praise on Twitter, being called a perfect episode, and some calling it one of the best episodes of a show ever made. Now, sadly, as a fan of the game, I unfortunately disagree. This episode was not perfect, but it also wasn't bad. It had a lot of good, but also some disappointments, and we're going to talk about those. Now, the episode started out different than the first two by going straight into the intro with no cold open. I was honestly thinking every episode was going to have a cold open of some kind, but I guess we probably won't be getting any more of those for the rest of the season. Now, I really liked all of the Ellie and Joel scenes. We got about 30 minutes total of Ellie and Joel in the episode, which is more than people were making it seem like online. Got about 15 minutes at the start of the episode and 15 at the end. And Ellie was great in this episode, being the usual smartass with snarky remarks towards Joel. And I really like the line she says about Joel sucking at shooting or in general. And Joel responds in general with what looked to be a slight smirk on his face. And it seems like Ellie is certainly starting to grow on him. And she's also growing on me also. Because in episode 1, I didn't really like Bella Ramsey as Ellie. But then in episode 2, I thought she was great. And she's just as great or even better in episode 3, in my opinion. I love the scenes at the convenience store when Joel was looking for his stash. Ellie sees a Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet and gets all excited about it, talking about Melina, who is most Mortal Kombat fans' favorite female fighter. Now, this scene was in the video game, but the arcade cabinet was for a game called The Turning instead of MK2. Although in the Left Behind DLC, Ellie does have a Mortal Kombat poster on the wall by her bed, which we might actually see later in the season in the episode with Riley. But yeah, after that, Ellie goes into the basement of the store where she finds an infected man trapped under a bunch of rubble. This is most likely a callback to the game when Joel and Tess come across a man trapped under some rubble, and you're given the choice to leave him there to suffer or put him out of his misery. And Ellie in the show is also given that same choice, and after cutting the infected's forehead, because she was either curious what's under the skin or maybe wanted to see if it felt pain, I'm not sure, she decides to stab it in the brain. Now, the infected didn't really freak out or try to attack Ellie before she killed it. I'm assuming because it could sense that she had the cordyceps flowing through her body, just like it. And also, just like when the infected walked up to Tess, it didn't try to attack her or anything because it could sense the cordyceps flowing through her body. Now, in the game, the infected would attack both Ellie and Joel. So it seems for the show they're switching things up, and I actually like it. And I loved Ellie's curiosity and wonder throughout the beginning. And when Joel, who's usually the strong and silent type, gives her a long answer about how the apocalypse started, it felt like a father teaching his daughter something, and it was great. They then come across a mass grave where the military murdered groups of people, including kids, if there was no room in the QZs. And that's when there's a nice transition 20 years into the past, which shows those dead people still alive being rounded up in a truck, not knowing that would be their last trip alive. It was such a dark and melancholic scene set in the light of day. And this is when we're introduced to Bill, who is already prepared for the end of the world, hiding out in his bunker to avoid being taken. Once the town is evacuated, we then get a montage of Bill gathering supplies and fortifying his street with gates and booby traps, and I loved all of this. It was the perfect introduction to Bill's character for both game fans and show fans alike. Another character only mentioned in the game, or should I say seen hanging in the game, named Frank, is introduced after falling into one of Bill's hole traps. This leads into the meat of the episode, which is Bill and Frank's love story. We see their relationship grow throughout the episode with a few multi-year time jumps. And at first, things start off awkward. Bill wines and dines Frank before it leads to a smooch, then some freaky deaky stuff, where we find out that Bill has never been with another guy, only one girl. He most likely spent his entire life single, alone, and living with his mother in the basement, which is kind of funny when you think about how people these days online love to diss others by saying, "You're a loser who lives in your mom's basement." But Bill lived in his mom's basement and is actually an intelligent badass who was prepared for the end of the world. So remember that next time you want to diss somebody who lives with their mom. They're probably smarter, tougher, and more resourceful than you'll ever be. But yeah, they get it on, and a time jump of 3 years happens, and they argue about Frank wanting to fix up the street and make it look nice and inviting because he wants to make friends, while Bill is pretty much dead set on it just being them two and nobody else. Frank eventually says he's been talking to a woman, and it jumps to them eating a meal with some of our favorite characters, Joel and Tess. Now in the game, it wasn't clear how Joel and Tess met Bill. Neither of them knew Frank in the game, so he couldn't have been the one to bring them all together like it is in the show. So I'm assuming maybe Joel and Tess fell in a hole and managed to make a deal with Bill or something. I'm not sure. But anyways, during the dinner scene, Tess seems really sweet and easygoing. The opposite of how she is when we first meet her in the show and in the game. I'm assuming that's because all that bad shit they had to do to survive that hardened her happened in the time span after meeting Bill and Frank. Now, Joel and Tommy had most likely already parted ways at this point, so Joel had already done some fucked up shit to survive, although he didn't seem as cold and rugged at the table like he's known to be. Now, maybe that's because him and Tess had just started dating, and they both gave each other hope for happiness at that point. I don't know, but the whole time Bill had his gun sitting on the table because he doesn't trust Joel and Tess, and he was just itching to use it, which I thought was funny. Now, when Joel and Tess are leaving, we find out that Frank is the one that came up with the 60s, 70s, and 80s song codes idea, which I previously thought was Bill's idea. There's another 3-year time jump, and we get the strawberry scene. It's all online. Frank traded a gun to Joel and Tess for some strawberry seeds, and Bill seemed a bit angered at that, asking which gun. Which is funny when you think about it, because you end up seeing that Bill has like 100 guns in his bunker, yet he seemed like he didn't really want to part ways with one. But yeah, Bill eats a strawberry and does a little giggle that all of Twitter was posting about before I even was able to watch the episode. I was like, dang. A strawberry chuckle is the highlight of the episode? Really? Because that's all I was seeing on Twitter. But yeah, Bill says he was never afraid before Frank showed up, which was great. Meaning alone, he wasn't scared of shit. But now he's afraid not for himself, but because he's afraid he'll lose Frank. I think that's why in the next scene when the Raiders attack, he's outside making sure he takes out any raiders his traps might not get, because he wants to protect Frank at all costs, even if that meant dying in the process. He does eventually get shot during the scene, and I do think it was kind of dumb for Bill to go out there shooting it up with the multiple raiders while wearing just a t-shirt and no kind of armor, which I'm sure he has somewhere in his bunker. Plus, while he's laying on the table bleeding, he tells Frank the fence would kill the rest. So he really didn't even have to be outside at all. He just risked dying for no reason. Now, while also laying on the table, he told Frank to call Joel so he could move there and protect Frank because he thought he was going to die. This lets us know that Bill truly has trust in Joel. And seeing as how in that world trust is one of the hardest things to gain and maintain, it's heartwarming. Now after that comes the part of Bill and Frank's love story that made everyone get out the tissues. A time jump of 10 years happens, letting us know that Bill and Frank spent 16 long years together, which is way longer than any relationship or marriage would last nowadays. I mean, love and loyalty are some of the hardest things to find today. Probably because there are too many people to choose from and everybody just wants to be whores. But yeah, during an apocalypse with less people, I guess love would probably be a little bit easier to find and to keep. But yeah, at this point we see that Bill and Frank are significantly older, and Frank is in a wheelchair because he is seriously ill. Frank tells Bill that he wants to be euthanized basically, but wants to have one more amazing day before it happens. So they spend the day doing everything Frank wants, including getting married. Then they have one last dinner, which is the same meal they ate when they first met. Now, after dinner, Bill puts a bag of crushed pills in Frank's wine. He drinks it. Then Bill drinks a cup of wine, and we find out that Bill put pills in the whole entire wine bottle, meaning they were both going to die. Frank was agitated at first by Bill for doing it, but then Bill says, "I'm old, I'm satisfied, you were my purpose." Then they head to the bedroom to pass away in each other's arms. And for some reason, that just hit me in the feels. I think it's because I've been single so long that I've lost all hope in finding love, and I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life alone like the video game version of Bill. Finding true love that lasts forever and being able to die in each other's arms is such a beautiful thing that so many of us will never experience in our lifetimes. I've seen that Neil Druckmann posted on Twitter that this was the happy episode, and I actually think he's right because you got to think about it. They spent 16 years in love together and got to die on their own terms. That is truly a happy ending in a world filled with hate, misery, and death. Now, even though that was Bill and Frank's ending, it wasn't the end of the episode. Joel and Ellie show up to Bill and Frank's to find out they're dead. Ellie finds a note Bill left, and Ellie reads it, and it was pretty funny. As Bill would say. But yeah, Bill admits he never liked Joel, but respected him, and says, "There was one person worth saving, and that's what I did. I saved him, and I protected him. That's why men like you and me are here. We have a job to do, and God help any motherfuckers who stand in our way." Now those words are basically foreshadowing what's to come with Joel and Ellie, most likely in episode 9. Now, video game spoiler warning for any show-only fans that may be watching this. When Ellie reads the words, "I saved him," it immediately made me think to the beginning of The Last of Us Part 2 when Tommy asked Joel what he did, and Joel said, "I saved her."
I saved her.
He saved her and protected her, and God couldn't help any of those motherfuckers that got in his way. And HBO Bill would have been proud of Joel. But yeah, Ellie keeps reading. Then it gets to where Bill says to use his weapons to protect Tess. But Ellie didn't say her name, so Joel reads it and goes outside to take a breather because deep down he's heartbroken that she's gone, even if he won't show it physically. I mean, Joel has known Tess for at least 13 years that we know of. So losing someone you've survived with that long, who's had your back and always been there for you, it's going to hurt and affect you regardless of how hard you try to hide it. They sadly just never got the chance to grow old and satisfied together like Bill and Frank. Bill and Frank got that happy ending, and that's truly the saddest part of the episode, that Joel and Tess will never have that. But yeah, he goes into the garage after and finds everything needed to make a battery in the fridge, which was a nice touch. Because most batteries after 20 years wouldn't work. But maybe they would if you separated the parts and stored them in a cool environment. And for that, Bill was a beast-ass survivalist. Now, after that, Joel goes back in and we get dialogue ripped straight from the game, and it was delivered perfectly. They then start looting the house and stocking up supplies for the long journey to Tommy's. They go in the bunker and Ellie calls Bill a genius, which is something she never would have called him in the game because of the way Bill treats her and the feud they have. Ellie tries to get Joel to allow her to get a gun, but he won't let her yet. I'm just really hoping that Joel did grab most of those guns and ammo and loaded them in the truck. I mean, it would be a waste to just leave all of those behind because eventually raiders are gonna get into Bill's place because eventually all those traps are gonna stop working, and it would suck to have all those guns in the wrong hands. But yeah, they both end up deciding to shower. After Ellie's done, we see she's wearing the iconic video game Ellie shirt, which is awesome. And while waiting on Joel, she finds Frank's gun and stashes it in her bag. I think this is going to be the gun she saves Joel with, and we'll get the scene where Joel says, "I'm just glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid." Well, hopefully they keep that dialogue in the show. They do like to switch things up, sadly. But yeah, Joel comes out of the shower wearing his checkered shirt from the video game. Ellie then says that he's looking pretty, and Joel says, "Shut up." And it's not an angry shut up, but a playful shut up. And I just found it to be a sweet moment between the two. They then go out to the truck. Ellie gets in and says it's like a spaceship, which foreshadows one of the best parts of The Last of Us Part 2, which we will hopefully also get in Season 2 of the show. Now, as they head off, driving away from Bill's, Ellie pops in a tape with the same song Bill and Frank were singing on the piano. And Joel tells Ellie to leave it. She says it's better than nothing, which makes Joel give a slight smile, showing that no matter how hard Joel tries to fight it, she's growing on him, and there's really nothing he can do to stop it. And the episode ends at Bill and Frank's window, which I've seen people compare to the menu screen of the game, but it was more reminiscent of the window at the end of The Last of Us Part 2 for me, when Ellie puts down the guitar after, But yeah, that was episode 3. I am now going to give my final thoughts and a numerical score. The episode was really good. I loved every moment with Joel and Ellie and think there are no flaws with those scenes, in my opinion. We pretty much got a total of 30 minutes with them, and I think that was a great amount of time in an episode that was more focused on other characters. I love that we got to see Tess again as a sweeter version of herself, knowing what became of her. The music and cinematography was on point, just like in the previous 2 episodes. Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett gave us amazing performances as Bill and Frank, especially when they were older. Their scenes were both heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. But it's time to talk about the dislikes. If I wasn't a fan of the games, maybe this would be a perfect episode, like so many others have called it. But being a fan of the game makes me wish things were different. The Bill and Frank love story was great, but it took up the majority of the episode and at times just felt out of place being an episode of The Last of Us. In the game, Bill's section was iconic and completely different. The interactions between Ellie and Bill were some of my favorite and most memorable moments from the game, but they didn't give us those because they wanted to give Bill a happy ending for some reason.
Who the fuck is this punk and what's she doing here?
I am none of your goddamn business, and we're here because you owe Joel some favors. And you can start by taking these off.
I owe Joel some favors. Is some kind of joke? I'll take all my food, too, while you're at it.
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
Listen to me, you little shit.
No, fuck you. You handcuffed
I
him.
need you to shut up. Just stay right on my ass.
Can't miss it.
Knock it off.
Man, he's got a fucking stick up his ass.
Just stay out of his way.
Bill was a miserable loner in the game, and that's what made him so entertaining. Seeing Bella's Ellie and Nick Offerman's Bill bicker and argue in the show would have been legendary, but sadly, we were robbed of that. I mean, maybe when the show is over and I go back and binge watch the whole season, I might feel different, but as of now, I'm going to be sad that we didn't get that Ellie and Bill stuff. Another iconic moment from Bill's section is the bloater in the gym. And seeing as how there was no gym because Bill's town was reduced to Bill's street, there's no way they could have given us the bloater fight, and that sucks. I'm sure the bloater encounter that's coming in a future episode will be awesome, so I guess I can kind of let that slide, but Bill and Ellie can't interact with each other in a future episode because he's dead. So, because of that, I'm giving this episode a 4 out of 5 ration cards. It's not perfect, but it's really good, and that one ration card I took away is simply because we didn't get some iconic Bill and Ellie stuff. Like I said, if I wasn't a game fan, it'd probably be a 5 out of 5. So anyways, what'd you guys think of the episode? What was your favorite moment? Let me know below, and until next time, deuces out your cabooses.